All right, I see everyone trickling in. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. You haven't officially met me yet on the camera because Michelle has been leading the show today. My name is Jazz, and I am the community manager here at Canadian Gap Year Association. My role is I literally exist to support you in planning and leading your epic gap year. And that's why I am so excited about this panel today because I'm going to be chatting with Mathieu, Robert, and Nancy about 3 different gap year programs that you could potentially do for your gap year. And the reason I love these panels is because you could be a gapper that either knows exactly what you want to do, or you could be a gapper that has 101 things you want to do and you don't know how to narrow it down or find a way to wrap it up in a beautiful bow. Or you could have absolutely no idea what you're doing for your gap year and need a little bit of inspo. So today's session is all about diving into what are the possibilities with these different programs. And I apologize if my camera goes in and out. Again, I live on the top of a mountain, so my internet is a little sketchy sometimes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go around our virtual room here and have everyone quickly introduce themselves, tell us the program that they're bringing into the session today, and then we'll dive into everything. Mathieu, you are the first on my screen. Do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Mathieu. I am representing Katimavik today. Katimavik is a long-standing, facet of the Canadian options for people that are interested in doing something other than school or doing a sort of gap year program. We started in 1977, and we've been offering our program more or less ever since. So that's 4 decades of experience. Our program is based around the model where youth come together, 11 that means you plus 10 other people that are 17 to 25 years old come together in a house, in a Katimavik house, to do meaningful volunteer work, experiential learning, and really to come together as a group, as a community, and find yourselves and find the next steps in your life. The core of our program is giving this opportunity to anyone that is in Canada and an eligible residency status, and we pay for literally everything: travel, food, accommodations, activities during the program. It's 6 months of learning and volunteer work. That's the deal we make with you, and you get to see 2 different communities in Canada like that, and meet tons of awesome and really interesting people.
Fantastic. Awesome. Nancy, you want to go next?
Sure. We're based here in Banff, and we've been running Gap Year Canada since 2005. We have been bringing young people from all over the world here to Banff to work either for the winter season or the summer season, or some people now are coming out for a whole year for the full Gap Year experience. We have, in the past, had mostly international applicants coming from Europe, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, but have seen a lot more Canadians coming out to experience the Rockies. And we organize everything from their jobs to their housing, so they can arrive in Banff with everything lined up for the season. What's really neat for the Canadians is they can arrive and live in a house with other young people from all over the world. And it's just as huge an experience for them to leave their town and come across and work in the mountains for the season.
Fantastic.
Leaves me if I'll jump in.
Please do.
So my name is Robert Zing. So I'm the director of Andégo Internships Abroad. And so we actually have 2 programs. So the first is a gap year where our interns spend the year on a French host school. So we have 40 partner schools across France. And so they would spend the year as an English teaching assistant. So you're not an English teacher, but a teaching assistant. So splitting off with part of the class to have a conversation, do a debate at the elementary level, planning activities to learn vocabulary and practice language. So our interns receive a stipend, and then room and board are included as well. Some of our interns stay in a full-time host family, others stay in little studios right next to the schools. So that kind of depends there. So that's our gap year program. And then we also have a shorter term program where you would go and up to 12 weeks and you teach English in a host family. So you have a French host family where you can go and teach English, and then you receive full room and board. And so then when you're not conversing in English, then you have that opportunity, that time to explore the local community, hang out with your host family, that kind of thing. So yeah, so kind of two options, the full gap year and then the other that can serve as part of a gap year experience as well.
Fantastic. Amazing. Well, my first question to kind of kick us off is, as three individuals who work with diverse gap year students, I'm curious, why do you believe in the gap year path? Like, what is the exciting piece for you? Maybe we'll go backwards. Robert, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah. I think it really varies for every participant that we have. But it's, the most exciting is just that participants come back with this newfound view on the world, right? We all know about the power of travel and the power of intercultural exploration, doing something that's out of the mold. And so, yeah, I think what I really, what's most exciting for us and for our interns is that it's an opportunity for them to realize, right, after doing something different from just being in school, to realize other things that are out there. And, whether, ours is in school, so there's definitely a piece of an element of education, but a lot of our interns don't end up going into education. But it's just that opportunity to do something different than studying, that opens up a world and really gives a lot of clarity about what comes next. So
totally, I resonate with that. Nancy, why do you believe in the gap year path?
Well, we find it quite interesting in that we get the younger groups that are taking a gap year between high school and university, that as well as the other groups that are leaving university and trying to come and do something different after their degree. And we find it doesn't matter which age group it is, it's just, as Robert was saying, just the power of travel, the independence that they create, and their ability to, follow a passion while they're here, gain a bit of work experience. All those sort of things combined together really make them more of a worldwide, have appreciation for the world. Even though we're still in Canada, next thing you see, we're amazed to see that these people now that have come to Banff for the season have a connection in New Zealand or Australia. Mm-hmm. And it sort of opens up their mind, I think, if they are going on and taking a gap year before education, that the world is a much bigger place, and it really is opening up their eyes to a bigger experience. We find as well, what's interesting is most people end up coming on their own for a gap year. They're not doing it with their friends. And it's really a daunting thing to be traveling and going somewhere across the world on their own. And it really makes them come out of their shell and really gain a lot of independence and become quite courageous, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think I can echo what's already been said and maybe speak to our particular model, since our program is in a large sense based around community service. That's, I guess, the trade that we make for the support that we offer in program. And I think that the gap year model in general gives a pathway for a lot of youth right now that's something other than post-secondary education, or another set of possibilities that a lot of people might feel trapped, and taking this year off to experience life in other ways than what's been necessarily set out as direct is a great opportunity. And if you're interested in giving back, then our program is definitely a great opportunity for that. But I think that the biggest thing that people get is what's already been mentioned. It's these moments of community and these lifelong relationships that you get to make with the people you meet while you're out there.
Yep, I can totally speak to that. I've slept on so many friends' couches that I met on my gap years. Just like then I hopped over to Europe and Australia to meet up with everybody, and those are some of the best memories that I hold. So that community building piece is so big. And all of you've kind of spoken a little bit on it, but I'm curious if you can go a little bit deeper into what is kind of the gapper archetype that goes on your programs? Like, who would benefit the most from your programs? What are maybe some of the things that they're interested in? Who do you really see thrive, so that gappers can kind of see themselves in, because there's so many programs and they're all so exciting. Like, how can we help them find a place in a program that makes sense to them?
Sure, maybe I can start with this because this is what I kind of do for my day job. What we really look for in participants is a willingness to get on board. I think that everything can be taught except patience and empathy. Those are two things that you kind of you have to have. And I think that those are the two things that we highlight the most. And maybe that's partially because of our living situation, that we kind of make a little friction. We put 11 young people plus a project leader in a 3-bedroom house. So yeah, patience and empathy, I would say. I'd say, what do the people that most often succeed in our program look like? They're people that are willing to learn, but often you don't necessarily have to know where you want to go. I'd say having that openness is a huge bonus.
So should I jump in here?
Please do.
The type of clients we get, I think we probably all have that same sort of person that doesn't quite know what they want to do for their gap year. They're sort of looking around and thinking, where am I going to fit in? And I think that's what is kind of unique with some of the programs, is that it doesn't matter if they're on their own and they don't know what they're going to do. It's a really interesting environment for them to maybe be at school in Canada where not many people they know are taking a gap year, and then arrive and move in with a bunch of people for the season that are all also that they've never known before, that are also taking a gap year, that sort of gives them the courage and the, to sort of get up and try different things. We're in Banff in the mountains, and I'm always in shock how we get people that have never skied or snowboarded or even seen snow, that they know that they want to come to the mountains for a season. I'm like, oh, wow, good for you. But it's that willingness to learn and that willingness to try something out. And it helps that back when it wasn't a normal thing for people to do gap years back when I was at, going to university. And it's so great that this conversation is coming up, and kids are allowed to have this opportunity. It's great for their independence, and it's great for the maturity to find that sort of experience away from home in an environment, whether the program is, that's kind of protected and guided for them, so that they know that year off is going to be a successful one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I would echo most of what I've heard as far as the type of student that comes needing or seeking out a gap year. It really does vary, whether it's a break from the academic track or an opportunity to grow up are definitely. But the two things that I think most often tie our students together between them all is a curiosity. That we've heard too, a curiosity and openness to learn new things, to share, and then there's a linguistic, cultural element definitely present in our interns as well. That desire to, I've been practicing learning this language for X number of years, and I want to really solidify. I see that as a valuable skill, and so something that our participants come back with a high level of proficiency in a language, but then also that intercultural ability, to connect with others in another culture and language.
Beautiful. And I guess on the other side of that, so what are some of the bigger outcomes for your program? So considering, in terms of maybe where participants end up in different post-secondary programs or careers, like what are those skills that they're getting out of these programs that they can go and apply to their next steps? And you can give examples of maybe even past participants and what their beautiful journeys have looked like. I think those personal stories are always inspiring.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're swinging back the other direction.
Go for it.
Speaking out of turn. Yeah, I think, and we've already heard these mentioned a couple of times. The biggest ones are maturity and confidence. Confidence is a huge one, right? It definitely takes a leap of faith to be in someone's home, to be in another country, to go. Nancy mentioned how many of her participants go as singletons, right? So you're going without a social network. And, even though all of our programs, I'm sure, have a tremendous support system in place, that social network and having that confidence then to go out and, strike up a conversation with someone, I think are huge as far as those, those skills. Obviously, there's more specific skills as far as language, working in a team in a school setting, is also going to be a big piece. Gosh, and then stories. I really love that, that as much as a French teacher myself, I really love that a lot of our interns aren't necessarily French educators, right? They're not going into education, that but they're able to share these experiences and find ways to fit them, whatever field they end up going into. I think is great, and just to really reinforce that idea that the world is so much bigger than what we're used to, and that we all need to have opportunities and experiences, and especially before we're locked into a job and family and all those other responsibilities. So yeah, I really love that idea of just opening horizons.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that it's so diverse. And that's kind of where I'm hinting at, like the diversity of all these incredible skills and how they can be applied to everything. Amazing. Nancy, you're next in our backwards swing.
Gosh, I guess, it's the same. I think for our program, it's been really neat to see where people go in different directions with their careers, and, it's hard to say how their gap year has impacted what they do in the future, but I think it's just, again, the confidence, a lifelong, sport that they're now addicted to skiing or snowboarding, that then dictates all the holidays and they're traveling. I think that's just the same sort of thing, all that sort of soft skills that they gain along the way.
Yeah, and Robert mentioned that Andégo has like gap semester, and like you're able to accommodate gap semester kids as well as full year gappers. Nancy, are you able to also accommodate anyone who's just taking maybe a semester off, or is it more of a year-long program that we're looking at?
Oh, sorry. We follow the employers here, and just because we provide the accommodation as well, which can be really difficult and tight in a mountain town, our program start October, November. And that follows the hiring cycle for the local ski resorts. And it's kind of odd. People in Ontario can't believe, they think they should come out in January for their ski season. But everybody started their jobs in October or November, and the ski season has started out here. So they typically come from October to November through till sort of April or May. So people can leave in April or they can leave in May. And then we switch to the summer season that starts in June and goes till September.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So maybe I mean, there's a lot of it's already been said by my co-panelists here, but I think that what I would emphasize for our program, we see as the biggest marker of success is that sense of self-determination. One of the hallmarks of our program is that it is youth-led. It's the participants in the house that decide how they want to do everything, how they want to manage the house, what sort of relationships to each other they want to build, what sort of activities they want to do. And for a lot of people, when you're coming out of high school, because that's when our age range starts and you're 17, or if maybe you've tried university and it's not for you, that affirmation of your capacity to do stuff and to plan stuff and to take charge of your life is sort of the jump start that sends you wherever you want to go, because now all of a sudden you realize, hey, I can go wherever I want to go. And I guess maybe my favorite participant story it's a tough one. We've got 37,000 people that have done the program in thousands of communities across Canada and millions of hours of volunteer work. But I'm a little bit partial to one story because it's the reason I'm here. My parents actually met in the program in the 80s. So I'm a success story. There you go. When we
That's
say
wonderful.
friendships, we mean it.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, we're already like running out of time. I have so many questions, but I guess one of the things that I think would help our gappers who are watching and parents, give us an overview of like what does a day in the life look like? What does this all look like in action? And I know it can be different based on the program, but maybe just an overview of what it would look like. Matthew, what does it look like for 11 people to live in one house? How is everyone in charge of breakfast? Like, what does that look like? Give me an overview.
It's a great question. 4 decades of experience has taught us that a little bit of structure goes a long way. So we have we have the group come together at the start, and they regiment sort of their schedule for each week. So 30 hours out of the week are dedicated to volunteering. 1 day out of the week is dedicated to a truth and reconciliation learning platform that's an adapted version of a university course. And then in terms of like the fun part, there's room for excursions every month that the group can organize and plan themselves. There's workshops and activities that the group organizes throughout the week. And then in terms of the household tasks, every week out of the 11 participants, 2 stay home for the week, and they're the house managers. So they take care of the mundane, the cooking, the cleaning, that sort of stuff. And it's on a rotation, so everyone gets to do it and sort of build up those life skills if they haven't had the chance yet. There's a longstanding tradition of Katimavik bread recipes. So if you join the program, your house will probably have its own collection of unique bread recipes, and participants don't really buy bread. We make it.
Amazing. That sounds incredible. I'm already in. I love making bread. I'm in. Nancy, what would it look like? So, I mean, I guess it might be a little different because you'd be maybe talking about kind of the prep work and then how that kind of transitions into their employment and moving forward.
So you mean the prep work before they come?
Oh no! In terms of like in placing them into, I think my internet got conked out. In terms of placing them into a role, like what does that all look like in terms of getting them in the employment set up and then those next steps?
Okay. Well, it's been very interesting over the years. We started in 2005 when, people weren't doing video interviews, and, we really had to say to some of the local employers, these kids want to show up with a job and a house and everything's ready. And they couldn't understand why they wanted to show up with those things, because most people arrive in town and, walk around with a fistful of resumes for a few days. So we worked with them before, and now life is so much easier with a video interview that they then sort of put those pieces into place. So you've got the interview. We kind of decide, do you want to work outside or do you want to work inside? Hopefully they then have an interview, a job offer, and then arrive out, depending on when their job starts, they arrive based on that start date. And very similar to, I guess, the Katimavik program is you're put into a house. It could be a 2-bedroom house or a bigger 5-6-bedroom house. And then it's the hard part starts where you 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, you'd go to work, and then you have a couple of days off. But it's very interesting to see what people do with their days off. Everybody wants to go skiing, or they want to go snowboarding, or they want to go hiking, or do different adventures in the Rockies. But then there's also the really basic things like grocery shopping and laundry. Yeah. And for some people, they've never done those things before. But it's been quite fun over the years to see different houses. And even during COVID, the ski resorts were open. People came and worked. But the normal things like the clubs downtown weren't open. So they weren't out partying. But different houses were baking and sharing baking with each other. And they could still do stuff outside. And it was like, wow, this is back to the basics, but it's really fun. But it's a long season, and a lot of people, will start snowboarding and then start skiing, and then do rock climbing and do all these other things with work on the side that I think was something interesting that Michelle had touched on before. Work is one thing, but you still have to pursue some of those other things outside of work to really make sure you've got a full experience while you're here.
Absolutely. Balance is key. It is key. Thank you for sharing. And Robert.
Yeah. So typical day, it a little bit depends on if they're in an elementary, middle, or high school. And we work with all of our interns to be in a school that that level that they'd most prefer to be in. But French schools usually start about 8:39, and so then. Depending, right, you're going around with the English teacher, and working with the different levels, again, and it could be, at the high school level, you might be reading an article with them and having a conversation about comprehension, and then in the next class you're having a discussion, a cultural comparison, between France and right, and your local culture wherever you grew up. And then lunchtime in France is always nice. So our interns get lunch at the school, but the lunchtime is at least 2 hours. It's usually an hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes it can be 3 hours. So you get a break in the day, and then you go back in the afternoon, kind of doing the same thing until school lets out. And then in the evenings, we really encourage our interns to get involved, whether it's with a sport or music, something that allows them to really connect to their community, and also pursue something that doesn't have a linguistic, is that much of a heavy language element to it, so that they're just able to be a little bit, because it can be really tiring at moments to always be on in language and trying to figure out what people are saying. And so, it's like, for me, it was, when I was abroad, it was playing basketball and I could just go play, and it wasn't all about the French. And then, weekends and school vacations, the French have 4 2-week vacations throughout the year. There's one coming up in just a week, and you have that opportunity to go explore, to travel. We have 3 of our interns that are in different areas of France that are all getting together in one of their hometowns, and they're going to stay there, and then they're going to shoot off from there to go to Switzerland and then into Italy. So you have that opportunity to explore as well. So
Amazing. Oh my goodness. There's and I hope that everyone watching is realizing that there is just so much possibility, and there's so many things that you can do. And that's why it's so crucial to plan early. So we're just at time. So I highly recommend that if you would like to learn more about Katimavik, Gap Year Canada, or Andégo Internships Abroad, I would head over to our expo, and you can dive a little bit deeper. Obviously, the links are here if you want to cheat and just go for it. You're welcome to just click and go forward. And I want to thank our panelists. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I was about to say this evening because I'm so far away. This afternoon, I really appreciate your time, and I know everyone does as well. It's always great to hear what opportunities are available out there. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And yes, thank you. And for anyone who would like to learn, okay, well, now I want to do one of these programs. Maybe I need to budget my year out. There is our next workshop is on how to budget for your gap year, and that is with Michelle. So if you want to hop over there and back to the sessions, you will find that session available. And if you want to go and browse the expo, you can do that at any point up until 7:30. The expo will be open. So that's our next workshop, and we will see you over there. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Matthew and Nancy and Robert. Thank you so much for joining me.